Welcome to episode. Whoa, we're definitely not doing that. Welcome to episode 15 of the Smash Accept podcast. I'm your host, Michael Royer. You can find me on Twitter at dynasty_dadff. We got another great show with a lot of trades sent in from you guys, and we have a great guest on. But before we get into that, I want to introduce my co-host, John, to the show. How you doing today?
Doing well. What's up, y'all? Hey, John at dynasty_trades. Been looking forward to getting back into the Smash Accept pod here. Running backs, there's nothing more important than running backs in Dynasty, right, Mike?
That's what everybody wants to hear about. You know, we've had a very exciting first 9 weeks of the year, and that means there's only 4 weeks left to the playoffs. You guys got week 10 through 13 to get yourself set up. If you're in the right kind of leagues, 14, 15, 16 are your playoffs. And we're going to, break things up here with the Smash Accept crew. Right now, we have some other exciting things going on. We got the Twitter Superflex mock. I know you just made your first first selection there, and that's the guy we're going to talk about today.
Mm-hmm.
And, without spoiling the show, that was just a little foreshadowing. But you guys can obviously follow us on Twitter. But tonight we have a special treat. A guy who, I've been interacting with on Twitter and probably for the longest time out of anybody I know. He's from Dynasty Trade Calculator, the co-host of Dynasty Wall Street. I refer to him as Mr. Third Place himself, Riley Bymaster. How you doing tonight?
Doing well. What's up, boys? Third place. That league. I think I've won third place in that league every year since it's been in existence, and I was in college when that started. It's been a while, and I think I've nailed down third every single year.
Hey,
so
third place gets your money back. You know what I mean? And that's where
it's
the whole
been
thing
free.
started. Yeah, exactly.
It's been free.
Every single year, I'm the treasurer of that league, and I'm like, Riley, you just want me to transfer it over so you don't have to pay? I mean, it's a long time running joke here, but you and I make a ton of dynasty trades. I'm in multiple leagues with you. Just got into another one again today, and I wanted to talk a little bit with our listeners here. Is what makes you and I have made some of the best trades. We're going to talk about Dalvin Cook today. You and I made a deal with him. What for you makes a dynasty trade when you're making that interaction with the other, your other owner in that league? How do you go about your dynasty trades, and what's like a trade secret, that basically works for us and works for you in other situations?
Yeah, I don't know if I have any hidden trade secrets I've got that I'm about to release or even have to begin with, but I'll be honest, I used to be the guy who really wanted to milk as much out of you as I could, because I thought if I could do that 5 trades in a row, I could group that together and then throw something at the wall and have something big hit. Then I started to change, because I started being known as the nickel and dimer and the guy who's like, oh, you want a fourth too, right, asshole?
Wasn't that the thing from Dynasty Wall Street? Just throw in a third, and then
just throw in a third. Yeah, I coined that phrase.
Yeah, exactly.
And then a lot of people don't like that apparently. So over the years, I've kind of shifted to more of what, I'll overpay here if I have to. I'm not going to worry about it, because if I do that, I'm probably going to get the guy I want. And if he performs to the way I expect, we're going to win titles. So I've kind of shifted a little bit. I don't worry about that as much anymore. But really, the thing is, you don't always have to win every deal, and it's always just making sure that you give the guy something that he needs. You're not always going to get to keep all of your favorite players and acquire the ones you want to acquire. You're going to have to let your profits run and cut your losses. So going off of what John and I were talking about before the show, but yeah, you got to give and take, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and John and I talk about it all the time. It's the stock market, it's buy low,
Absolutely.
sell high, and I feel like a lot of owners, you talk about you want this certain player, but they're not willing to shift in any kind of direction. They just have that rigid, form of what they want. And I felt like before we got on air, you and I were talking about it. With you and I, it's just mutual respect. And I feel like that is a big thing when you guys are making trades is communication and respect. Like if you're willing to make a little move here and there, that's how you make it done. It's the owners that are super rigid. They don't want to make any kind of alterations to their deal. Like it's this or it's nothing, or they want to add things at the very end. So, I just figured since you and I made so many trades there, John, I don't know if you want to chime in on any like little tips as far as when you're making deals, how you finish them up as well.
No, for sure. I like what Riley had to say, and you definitely got to think about the other team and make sure that it's working for them. But at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, we're talking Wall Street here. You're trying to turn a profit. I was going to bust your chops a little bit. You're not really doing that at third every year, but actually you got to respect that consistency. But yeah, I mean, look, I think we're going to get into it, right, Mike? But hey, are you buying Dalvin Cook high right now? Are you buying a stock that's priced pretty high already? I think we're going to quickly show you all that you can actually still ride that stock and still make a really nice profit on it. Just depends on what you give up. So
yeah,
let's get into it.
Let's jump right into that. And Riley, who won that league last year? I'm not trying to. Oh, wait, no, it was me. Sorry.
I forgot. Yeah.
You forgot already. All right. Well,
Humble brag there.
Yeah, running the table this year too. So, all right. So the first thing we're going to talk about is Dalvin Cook. Obviously, 2 weeks ago against the Packers, 32 touches, 226 scrimmage yards, 4 touchdowns. Basically, if you had him on your team, it was a guaranteed win. And then we look at this past week against the Lions, another 22 touches, 206, 2 more touchdowns, 9.4 yards per carry. So he's absolutely exploded over these last 2 weeks, a la Derrick Henry in the playoffs last year. And this is the kind of performance that has people excited, where if you have Dalvin Cook on your team and he puts up these kind of numbers weeks 15 and 16, you're getting paid, and I feel like that's what everybody's super excited about right now. He's the leading fantasy running back right now. If you exclude Kamara and McCaffrey, he's putting up 9 points per game higher than the next highest running back. I mean, that's incredible. That's such a positional advantage that you just can't overlook. Coming into week 10, 144 carries, 858 yards, 12 touchdowns, which puts him on pace for just a ridiculous 1,800 scrimmage yards and 24 touchdowns. What are you guys doing right now? I mean, obviously that's the positive end of Dalvin Cook. Are you guys into the form of buying Dalvin Cook based off what's happening? Or are you guys a little bit reluctant to see what's going on based off of some of the prior history? Because we know the injury concerns. I mean, if you go to sportsinjurypredictor.com, Dalvin Cook has a 96% chance of injury, which is the highest in the entire league. You look at things like 2014 is when it all started. He had a labrum tear. 2016, another labrum tear. 2018, 2017, he had that grade 3 ACL tear. 2018 hamstring. He's the injuries have piled up, and we kind of forget about that a little bit because of the performances that I've had lately. So what are you guys doing with Dalvin Cook right now? You guys believe in the hype that we're putting him in that top tier right now and you guys are buying? Or is this time that we should really strike while the iron's hot and get, our peak value?
I mean, I'll just go ahead and, I'll give the cliche answer to start. But if you have any sort of chance at winning, you are absolutely buying Dalvin right now. I mean, he has put up almost 500 yards the last couple of weeks with like 6 touchdowns. I mean, it's unreal. Every time I look at the score app and I swipe over to the stat box, Dalvin rushed for a 70-yard touchdown. I'm like, geez, he's not stopping right now, which is great for those of us who took him 101 in 2017 and then had the years of McCaffrey and Mixon below and Kamara and Hunt even later. And you're like, that sucked. Even Corey Davis, who some of us took 102 ahead of some of those other guys. So it's been a great year for Corey Davis and Dalvin Cook drafters. But yeah, you're buying Dalvin right now. I mean, he's the guy. He's going to get you there, and he's going to win you a title.
Yeah, absolutely. On the flip side here, we're talking about rebuilding. I mean, what are some offers that John, we're going to break down all of everybody else's trades, but What are some moves that you're looking to make? I know a couple weeks back, we really talked about some insulated trades, moving off Kamara and Dalvin, but right now everyone's got that fever, and they want to really get them trades in there. What are some moves that you're looking to make, to pick up Dalvin Cook or to move Dalvin Cook in a rebuild?
I got a fever right now, Mike. I do.
Do you?
Little Dalvin Cook and a little cowbell. Yeah, there we go. Thank you for that. No, so look, I first of all agree with Riley. If you're making a run, he's a buy. Okay, let's start with that. And what was holding him back was the injury history and the contract. But I mean, just looking at ahead, he just signed a 5-year, $63 million contract extension, folks. So he's going to be around for a while in that offense. Can he stay healthy? Really will be the question. But the way I look at it is, that's a challenge for just about every running back. I mean, look at what's now happening with Christian McCaffrey after that huge workload. We just lost Saquon Barkley. We lost Miles Sanders for part of the season. Nick Chubb's been banged up. I mean, that's just the way it goes. So even on teams where I'm going for it maybe next year or even the following, Dalvin's still a good guy to build your team around. And I'm very comfortable slotting him now into the top 3 to 4 running backs, right? We're going to probably debate that, right? But yeah, I mean, the kind of trades I'm looking for if I'm moving Dalvin Cook to a contender, you really got to start by at least trying to secure 2 firsts and maybe a little bit more. I mean, I think you really would try to get maybe 3 firsts out of it, or you're trying to get like a big piece, someone that you want to go after, maybe one of these rookie running backs. The list is pretty long. Your insulated trades, right, Mike? Like you're getting a rookie running back and a first, or maybe a couple of additional picks, right? So Taylor, CEH, Dobbins, James Robinson, and Swift, and Antonio Gibson are all good options to be going after as well. And I like Cam Akers. So maybe you get a couple of those guys for Dalvin Cook, and you can build your team around that. But you really got to make sure that you shop him and you're getting the absolute best possible deal for a guy, because that stock is absolutely riding a wave.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time. Don't just take that first offer that comes in there for Dalvin Cook unless it blows you away. If you guys are going to make it, we say it all the time on the show, make sure you guys communicate with your league. You want to make sure you put it out there. Hey, I'm trying to, I'm possibly moving Dalvin Cook here. Let's get some offers. You had a great point there. Obviously, with the holdout, we were looking at deals in
right.
June, July, where
right.
we were talking about Jacobs or Chubbs straight up for Cook. I'm taking this off Trade Finder. I saw Todd Gurley in a 209. That guy's kicking himself.
Come on.
Austin Eckler in a third. Miles Sanders and the 112 for Dalvin Cook in the 209. I mean, all these trades, sometimes we really just overreact, especially in the offseason like that. Now the prices you're going to have to pay for Dalvin Cook are through the roof. I mean, I'm considering buying him right now in the UDPL2 with Tyler Gunther. He made an offer today, and I'm having a hard time with it. He offered me, he's pretty much, he sent out Dalvin Cook, Jared Goff, Alexander Madison, and Darius Slayton, and he wants Joe Burrow, Chris Godwin, and Kareem Hunt. And for me, I'm really like, I'm all in. It's a points per carry. I have Kamara, I have Aaron Jones, I have Mixon, and it, like that points per carry league, when you guys can get running backs like Dalvin Cook, I'm going to be considering downgrading obviously to Goff and downgrading, to Darius Slayton. But what do you guys think of that potential trade?
The key to the key there to that trade is getting Alexander Madison back. If you go buy Dalvin, you need to, I'm not saying go pay at, out the wazoo Alexander Madison, but you need to be willing to give a second and some change for Madison, because he is a huge insurance policy. Yeah, just in case Dalvin goes down next year.
Maybe the single best insurance policy.
And that was the thing, is like, I really wanted to make sure that was a part of the deal. And from what we've seen, I mean, he's a capable backup, and he's a guy that you have to have there. I know there was a time we were talking about Madison could do just the same thing as Dalvin Cook, and that's clearly not in that same range. But he's a guy that you want to handcuff. There are only a few premium handcuffs, and he's definitely one of them. Let's just jump right into our trades here now. We got a lot of Dalvin Cook trades sent in. I mean, you guys are really hitting us up with that. When you guys do your trades, put hashtag smash accept, tag us in there. But when you do it, be specific. Is it a 10 team, 12 team, 14? Is it super flex? Is it points per carry, full PPR, half PPR? We're getting some questions. We're like, do you want Dalvin Cook or this player? And that makes it very different. And we'll also put your which direction you're headed. I mean, there's a big difference if you're middle of the pack rebuilding, or, if you're contending, and you should never be middle of the pack. You're not going to find that on any of my teams. I know this is the same with John and Riley as well. Is like, I was assessing my teams, and I have 11. I got 8 of them in the first, and then I got 3 of them at the very bottom. That's where you want to be. So this first one was sent in from @TradeGod3. He said he's got a 10-team full PPR. And we're assuming, he's looking to rebuild here a little bit. Side 1 is Joe Mixon, Allen Robinson, Cooper Kupp, Cam Akers. So a lot of pieces there. Side 2 is Dalvin Cook, a mid-21 first and 2 21 seconds. We'll start with you, John. What are you thinking on this trade? Which way are you going? He's looking at rebuilding a little bit. Are you willing to make this kind of move to get Dalvin Cook?
In a rebuild, I just got through saying that he signed the extension and everything else, but I actually would be careful there, because a lot of the assets that would be given up for Cook in that deal are actually the really nice assets to build around, including Mixon, who I know we're going to come back around to. But remember, Mixon also signed that 4-year deal. So there's a lot going on in that trade.
Absolutely.
But Yeah, and I mean, I'm still trying to come to grips with all of the moving parts in that one, but I don't know that I would be quite ready to settle on that deal to get Cook with all of those assets you're parting with. What do you guys think?
Yeah, Twitter has it at 53% for the Mixon side, 47% for Dalvin. It is a 10-team league, so we got to make sure we get those studs. You always want to get those guys that are the ones that are going to be the difference maker. And Dalvin Cook is the biggest difference maker in there. If we look at it, Allen Robinson has had his struggles this year. Cooper Kupp has disappeared at times. Cam Akers has disappeared. Joe Mixon's been up and down. So 10-team league, if you're going all in, Dalvin Cook is the guy. But what do you think on this one, Riley?
This was probably the toughest one.
Absolutely.
When you sent all the screenshots in, this was the one I probably spent the most time looking at and just thinking, what the hell am I going to do here? Because it's weird. If you're rebuilding, a lot of times you just shoot for draft picks. And this one, the picks and Dalvin are on the same side. So it's almost sandwiched to where the 4 players are in the middle. After thinking, it's 10 teams. If it's 10 teams, I think I lean Dalvin in the picks. Just because if it's 10, I mean, I love Cooper Kupp. Love him as a player. That offense has been up and down this year. And, I mean, he's not putting up 15, 20 points a game like I would want him to. So I think you could find a replaceable guy for Kupp like that who's probably values a little bit lower and who's going to put up similar production. Look at Cole Beasley. He's starting to go off again. I mean, that offense looks high-powered and like it's rolling, and I don't think it's going to stop. And, Beasley's putting up, I don't have the numbers in front of me, probably similar production to Kupp. So in that case, I'm going to take Dalvin in the first and 2 seconds because that first is top 10.
Yeah,
if you look at it that way.
And it's projected as mid, and that's the side I was taking too. Is I was looking at, you're probably going to have to give Allen Robinson and Mixon to get Dalvin Cook, or at least Mixon and Kupp. And then you look at that mid first, and Allen Robinson and Cooper Kupp are no longer worth mid firsts. They're late firsts, and then you're getting 2 seconds for Cam Akers. And that's kind of how I was breaking it down. Where I feel like, even if I'm contending, that might be the side I take. Because of what you can possibly do with things, but rebuild 100%. I'm on the Dalvin Cook side, but that was a trickier one. The next one sent in from Aaron Como with the great Twitter handle No Como. He says he wants to get Dalvin Cook and Antonio Brown, and he's willing to give up. And he made the deal, gave up Jerry Jeudy, James Robinson, and what he said is a potentially late 22 first. Now we can never really project that far out, but he is a strong contender here. I looked at his team. He sent it over to us. And guys, if you want that, we'll assess your Twitter trade. But if you want it even further, send me the DM. He said it's right now and it's 12 team. He is looking at a wide receiver core. He's going to have Chubb and Cook as his running backs, wide receiver core of Nuke, Adams, Fuller, and now Antonio Brown. So Riley, we'll start with you this one. Did he get a good deal here? Is Jerry Jeudy, James Robinson in a first too much?
Do you guys hear that? Sounds like we're in Mississippi State country when they do something well, because I'm hearing a lot of cowbell.
Is that absolutely? It's cowbell time.
Smashing that one.
Cowbell time.
Heck yeah,
we smash it.
I love it.
We are taking Dalvin there. No question.
It is a smash. Except I totally agree on that one. And he's new to Dynasty, and he one of those guys where he doesn't have a lot of picks, but I said, man, take that deal. You're going all in. If you're going all in for a championship, we like James Robinson. We love Jerry Jeudy on the show. 22 first, I always say, is like an early second to me, and I can get that back at some point. But you can't get back an opportunity to win the championship. You're going to really regret not throwing in that 22 first to get it done. John, what do you think of the deal?
Yeah, you definitely it's hard to part with Jeudy and James Robinson, and I think I even saw comments on James Robinson is like 6th on an average points per game. But to your point, Dalvin is throwing up 10 more per game on average right now. That is the difference between winning and losing weeks.
Yeah. And if you play points per carry, it's 14 points per game or 12
it's
points
even
per
bigger.
Game.
Absolutely.
I mean, James Robinson has been great, and we love it. But he's not going to be a Dalvin Cook. We know that, in his time.
I really do love this. You maybe got Jeudy for a late first, right? James Robinson, who knows when you got him? Off waivers, maybe a 3rd, 4th. And so you're turning that into a top 4 running back in Dalvin. I like it a lot too. I'd absolutely be ringing that cowbell.
Yeah,
smash accept, baby.
I love that Riley threw in the smash accept there. You
yeah,
know?
He's getting it already. This guy's a quick learner.
Dalvin Cook, he's so hot right now. Almost as hot as Hansel from Zoolander.
Hot right now.
We were talking about it beforehand. We just when we were talking about Dalvin Cook, we pictured that scene in the cemetery where they just stop everything and they start playing the music for Hansel's entrance music, and that Hansel, he's so hot right now. Dalvin Cook is that guy, and everybody's trying to get him. The next guy that sent it in is actually Congressman-elect David. His Twitter handle is @OWNYA. It's a 12-team Superflex PPR rebuild. So this is our first person giving up Dalvin Cook. So let's elaborate on this a little bit, where if you are rebuilding, and you don't believe in Dalvin Cook, or you don't believe in the injury history and you want to move off, what he gave up is quite a bit here. But he gave up Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones, and Ben Roethlisberger. So Roethlisberger's having a nice season. Aaron Jones, when healthy, is a rock solid RB1. But he did receive Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Chase Edmonds, who I know you love, John, Dak Prescott, and 221 firsts. So this is a big boy trade. This is the kind of trade that can make or break you. We're going to start with you, John, on this one. What did you think? This one was, again, I tried to pick some really tight Twitter polls. He is rebuilding. Are you willing to give up this package?
I don't know if I'd be quite willing to do that. I get what he's trying to do in a rebuild. He's moving off Dalvin. He's trying to sell high. Aaron Jones is also, he's like 4th on points per game right now, still killing it. He was number 2 overall in the running backs last year, but he's a free agent after this year. So because of that uncertainty, he's trading. Ben Roethlisberger only has, let's say, a year or 2 years left. Dude's tough, but so you know what I would support him doing is he's picking up some pretty sweet assets. But man, see if you can work this a little bit more. It is brutal to have to lose Dalvin Cook and Aaron Jones off your roster. Have you looked at how much points you're giving up per game? You're going to have to it's going to be a struggle to try and replace those two guys in the same trade. So be very careful, because like we talked about, Mike, those running backs are so important that winning and losing as often comes down to whether you got stable running backs, right?
Yeah, and I caution people when you're doing a rebuild, sometimes when you swing for the fences, you want to do some of them insulated trades where you accumulate those firsts and not swing all the way all in. But Riley, help me out with this one. Is this a move that you think, our man David did well, or what were some things that you saw in the trade?
My first piece of advice to Congressman-elect David would be, 1, split up Dalvin and Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
Shop them separately. If none of that works out, if you cannot, move Dalvin one off, if you can't move Aaron Jones single-handedly, which I don't know why you couldn't, but, we'll put that aside. If you cannot do that, I'm okay with this deal. Yeah. You get Clyde, you get 2 firsts, maybe even look to flip Chase Edmonds after the next couple weeks. Cool with getting Dak. Also, I'd assume it's 1 quarterback league, so that quarterbacks really just are thrown out the window.
No, this is a super flex.
Oh, this is super flex? Well, boys, we are going to smash accept that side then. Sorry, I guess I missed that.
The Dak is kind of.
We talked about it 3 weeks ago with buying players on the IR and getting guys. If you're in that rebuild, he's getting Dak Prescott. He's got 5 shots to replace that. I feel like with those 2 firsts, he has an opportunity to replace Aaron Jones. He's got Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's got Dak Prescott, where he gets younger, he improves. But it is how, Riley, that was a great point. We talked about that earlier, is like break it down and you can get those moves. These teams are wanting to contend right now. Start the bidding war. Putting Dalvin Cook and Aaron Jones to one guy, that guy's got to go. He's going all in. You got to make him overpay. If you break it up and you say, hey, I'm shopping Dalvin Cook, I'm shopping Aaron Jones, and you make separate deals, you might be able to get a little bit extra from each individual one. So by breaking that down, that's great advice to try to do that. I personally think that, he made out in this deal because he's rebuilding, and that puts him in a good spot.
Just think about that, like that advice, though. You know how it works. You're in Congress, right? If you try to put too much on one single bill, you might get some opposition there. So
I love that.
Be savvy about it as a congressman. You know the drill.
Yeah, our next one is sent in from another great Twitter handle. It's Die Nasty, Die NA, and then STE, all separated here. He's at a 14 teamer. So again, depth is key, and you got to worry about that a little bit. It's a 0.5 PPR. We got side 1, Dalvin Cook, Cortland Sutton, AJ Green. Side 2, Deontay Johnson, DJ Chark, Darius Slayton, and Jonathan Wilkins.
I don't know what you want me to say here other than Cortland Sutton is on the wrong side of this deal.
Exactly.
We are smash accepting the Dalvin side. A lot of fun pieces on the other side, but I need more if I'm giving Dalvin.
Yeah, I almost looked at this trade, and I mean it is an absolute smash accept. And this one I put in there to prove right now what you can. I mean, it makes no sense on this particular end of it, but to me, that whole package isn't worth Dalvin Cook. And sometimes you send it out there and you're like, look, I get 3 wide receivers. I mean, Deontay Johnson's got the upside of a nice wide receiver too. DJ Chark, the same thing. Darius Slayton, so he's got a nice little package there of guys, but that's not even worth just Dalvin Cook. And then you throw in Cortland Sutton because he's on injured, he's on IR right now. Sometimes people are really willing to just throw in players and they shouldn't be, in this particular deal, our man Dynasty, he made out great.
That's a nasty deal for sure. Yeah,
that is. I like it. Ooh, little dad joke in there. Hey-o.
Hi-yo.
I love it. All right. We'll talk real quickly about our sponsor. If you guys truly want to thrive, you need to execute these top-notch running back trades. To do that, use hashtag #SmashAccept for all your trades. But if you want to execute some extra cash, head on over to Thrive Fantasy app and enter the code DAD. For a free matching deposit up to the first $50, Thrive is now a new DFS prop bet. You can add up to 10 different prop bets into a parlay and win up to $25,000 this week. Free $50, compliments of Dad. Enjoy that. Go hit them up. And who doesn't like free money? We all work it out. The next couple players we're going to talk about really is this. We put it up on Twitter poll. This is the debate right now. It's white hot. What do we do after McCaffrey? I mean, obviously, there are very few people that are going to try to say anyone's above McCaffrey. We can all agree on that. He's the RB1, and he showed it again this week, posting monster numbers. He's putting up 35 fantasy points per game right now. And on his 3 games that he's played, this is remarkable. He's the RB27. We are in week 9. He's played 3 games, and he's a borderline RB2. 2019, 540 fantasy points, was 160 above everybody. So he's in a tier almost to himself. We had it between a couple of guys, but I posted a Twitter poll just trying to see who you guys thought the RB2 was, and we appreciate, got over 500 votes. The RB2, Dalvin Cook took it home with 47%, Alvin Kamara 42%, and Saquon just at 11. What are your guys' preference out of these 3 right now? Would you agree that Twitter got it right? And how close is this race truly? Riley?
It's extremely close, and unfortunately, Barkley's not quite in that conversation for me as of today. It's really between Kamara and Cook. Riley prefers Alvin Kamara. We're going to pull a Costanza and talk in the third person. But it's close. It's very close, but I really do think Kamara has that, endurance that he's going to be able to stay a little bit healthier over the next 5 to 10 years. Because when it comes down to splitting hairs between these 2 players, you want to look at longevity. And I think Kamara is going to be able to do that more so than Dalvin. I love both of them. Give me Kamara. At this point, it's a preference thing because they're so close, but I'm going to take him and give him the edge over Dalvin.
And that leads right into it. I mean, we had 3 specific questions. They're like, should I trade Dalvin straight up for Kamara or Kamara straight up for Dalvin? And it was sent in from @StrizzleMyNizzle, @DanHarris80, and @Usual Suspects. And they're all wanted to know with those kind of things. So I kind of looked at it as the same way as you. I think Kamara has more longevity, but you're looking at very equal parts here. And if you're going all in for a championship, Dalvin's schedule down the road for the fantasy playoffs is rough. He's like at Tampa Bay, Chicago, which, little fact here, but Chicago, he is 0-4 against them and has never rushed for more than 39 yards. Dalvin Cook gets them this week.
I didn't know that.
I know. I like that. I looked that up today and that blew my mind. I mean, never more than 39 yards. So we'll really see if the hot streak continues this week. And then that Saints run defense, which is, top 5. Then you look at Kamara. He gets Philly, which is kind of tough in week 14, but then he gets some of the most giving run defenses with the Chiefs and with Minnesota there, which those are both top 10 giving to the running back. So, on top of the longevity of Alvin Kamara, the fact that he has a better fantasy playoff schedule here down the track. John, what do you think? Where do you sit on that debate? I mean, we're all in agreement that Saquon's out of that top tier now.
I am in agreement. Yeah. I think that we still have to remind ourselves that Saquon did have over 2,000 yards in 2018 as a rookie. But, yeah, I mean, he did fall off in 19, and we got to have the lost season now. And that offense isn't super exciting. He is a distant fourth now, guys, in terms of dynasty value, like it or not. The poll shows that very clearly. So this is really a debate right now between Kamara and Cook, and they're both awesome. Just for the sake of just debate here, this is what, when I was watching the games, I sent a text over to Mike, like, is Dalvin Cook the running back too? And I've been asking myself that question all week. I really kind of almost been flip-flopping on this, but at this point, I am actually comfortable putting Dalvin Cook in the running back 2 spot. It's hard to argue with the pace that Kamara's on. I think I heard he's on pace for 125 catches, so more than the 81 that we're used to. Close to 1,300 yards. I do get a little bit concerned with what happens when Breeze leaves that offense, and what if the coach and the QB leave New Orleans? They've really been it's a system that just constantly looks for Kamara on that offense. And it just gives me enough pause to where if they really shift that offense to a different type of system, does that really hurt Kamara? Because Kamara's not getting anywhere near the same number of touches as Dalvin. I also think that everyone has to, though, on the other side of that, factor in that receptions are just valued so much more than carries. And you guys have heard this before, but you have to weight them a lot more. And so then I start to flip back over to Kamara. But what I just kind of convinced myself is that, look, Cook is going to score more touchdowns. He's going to has that ceiling right now that he's just shown in the last 2 weeks, over 200 yards in both weeks. He's going to win you some weeks. It seems like he's maybe the number one big play threat in the NFL right now, leading the NFL in rushing. He's actually averaging more per game than Kamara right now. And so for all those reasons, I'm just going to give him the slightest edge. I mean, Mike, this is the Dalvin Cook episode, right? So I got to make a move for him.
I know. We were talking about it all week, as soon as the week ended, as soon as Sunday night ended, I called you and we talked about it, and I had him there, and I'm like, I keep going back and forth because it's just the PPR aspect of it. Let's all agree Dalvin Cook is the best pure runner right now. I mean, clearly the best pure running back, but Alvin Kamara is more in that, he's going to be safe. You watch the game, it's so effortless. He just doesn't take the big hits, and he
takes the big hit.
He's going to last, and we're splitting hairs when it comes to both of them, but we're all in agreement that top 3 is now a tier. Would you guys put McCaffrey in his tier of his own, or would you put all 3 of them there in that top tier, Riley?
Oh, I don't know. That's a tough question to answer. Right off the hand there. Gun to my head. Can I say they're between a tier and the same tier?
It's like
McCaffrey's got an arm
tier
out of
1
it.
and then tier 1B. Yeah.
Yes. It's 1A, 1B tier. I mean, I know that doesn't help anyone at all by saying that. McCaffrey's probably in a tier of his own. Yeah. I mean, he's unreal. I actually traded a McCaffrey share away today. Quick thoughts.
Let's hear this. Yeah.
Wow. Would you rather have Christian McCaffrey or Clyde Edwards-Helaire and CeeDee Lamb?
So you are rebuilding, right?
I'm actually going for it, but I don't think I have the team to win. But I think I could get lucky because I'm 6-3 right now.
Yeah.
So
shouldn't you have got a third round thrown in there?
Yeah, you got
a third. Come on.
Here's where I'm going to blow your mind. I threw in a future second.
Oh,
really?
I threw in a future second.
I think
guess who still has Mike Davis? This guy.
Yeah.
So
that's a great point.
Maybe we're kind of hedging it there, but it was tough for me to not get Clyde and CeeDee Lamb, who were both on buys, so I didn't realize that, but that's okay. We'll get through it. But yeah, I took the rookie duo, and we're gonna see where it takes us in the next 5 years.
Mike Davis is the RB10 on the season, and I just saw him in our FFPC league, pros versus Joes. He got sold for a 3rd-round pick today, and go out there and make the offer to everyone, because McCaffrey's doubtful for this week, possibly
he's
doubtful
a top 5
for
player
next
this
week.
probably.
And when Mike Davis plays, he is putting up 70% of what Christian McCaffrey does. And it's fantastic and great value. If you guys can go out there on a contender and go pick him up for a 3rd or a pair of 3rds, I think that's a nice play, because you get into a situation where McCaffrey could go down again, where that team starts to really fall out of the playoff picture, and they aren't trying to risk it a little bit more. So Mike Davis is a great play, and I'm glad you added in there. I personally wouldn't make that deal, because I'm trying to tell everybody right now to make moves for McCaffrey if it's possible, because in a 1-quarterback league, I think he's the 101. I think by a good amount, and that's
Agreed.
not. CeeDee Lamb is the truth. We talk about him on here all the time, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the buy window for him is now as well, because with Le'Veon Bell there taking away carries, which Le'Veon Bell has been disgusting. 1.5 yards per carry has just been rough. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire, that window has opened up. We were at a spot where we had Rich Dotson on. He was talking about how Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he sees potentially jumping into this top tier guys by the end of the year, and trying to get himself in there. And that was several weeks back in the offseason there. But we're at a spot where there's a window for him, and there's definitely a window for McCaffrey. John, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you got arguably the top running back and the top wide receiver from this class out of that deal. So I totally get it. If you're going to kind of pivot a little bit and rebuild, you might have been able to get more. I would have tried to avoid going the second end. Is probably the only thing I would say there, though. I get the move, but I guess maybe I do still value Christian McCaffrey in his own tier, and so for that reason, you're always trying to get just a little bit more. So it all depends on the league dynamics and what you're trying to do with your team, and
trying to shoot the moon.
You're a Wall Street guy, yeah. So you may have actually made a really good move there. We'll find out with the futures, right?
Or what's going to happen is I'm going to slide into the playoffs, play the guy I just dealt with, and McCaffrey's going to put up 60, and I'm going to lose by 7, and that's how it's going to go.
Yeah,
already calling it.
Hey, Mike, can we get him back on the show if that happens?
Absolutely.
I'm not coming back. If that happens, I'm not coming back.
He's definitely doesn't want to admit to that one, This is where it gets difficult, right? Zeke was up there, and we had a lot of guys up in that top tier. And I took off, Dynasty Trade Calculator. I know you work for them, and we just got into a league there, so I'm excited to play with you guys over there. Wanted to go over their composite rankings and kind of talk about some of these players and see who the next guys to get into that tier, and then break up our own tiers. For me personally, the guys at 5 and 6 over at Dynasty Trade Calculator, I believe, are the guys that are about to get into that next tier, and that's Josh Jacobs and Miles Sanders. If you look at yards per carry, Dalvin's at 6 yards per carry. Kyler Murray's at 7.1. Number 2 right now is Miles Sanders at 6.1. I think Miles Sanders and Josh Jacobs are those guys that are about to ascend into that next area, and I feel like are we going to put Saquon's at 4, Jacobs 5, Sanders? Are we putting Saquon in his own tier, and then these guys, or are they approaching the same value as Saquon Barkley? These guys are both. Jacobs is having a fantastic season. I'm excited for Sanders to pop back in this week. John, is that kind of similar to how you have it right now?
Mike, it's scary how often you and I have this kind of the same outlook on these guys. I will start by saying, though, that I do think that there's a clear teardrop after Barkley in terms of value and what you're actually getting on a week-to-week basis. So you got to consider that in trades for sure. So let's call it a teardrop. And then I do have Miles Sanders and Josh Jacobs moving ahead of Zeke in my dynasty rankings. And they're both still on their rookie contracts. Sanders through 22. Remember, since Jacobs is in the first round, he's on a rookie contract through 23. So he does have that one extra year that he's stable from a contract perspective. So you could definitely argue back and forth. They're both scoring about the same per game this year, but I for sure have Sanders and Jacobs at 5 and 6 after Saquon, Mike.
Yeah, Jacobs, and we talked about this when we did the insulated pivot show, and we talk about if I'm moving in a rebuild and I have Dalvin Cook and I'm a little worried about the injuries, I'm trading back to Jacobs or Sanders, getting a first and an upside wide receiver. Like I believe you could get a T Higgins or a Darius Slayton or someone in that range where you're moving back and getting those kind of players. Riley, what do you think of Jacobs and Sanders, and what kind of area are you believing those guys fall into?
I do have Jacobs up there. Now, you guys, Mike knows this especially. I love Sanders. I loved him coming out of Penn State, thought he was going to be a really, really good player. But I don't know if his value will be in this range next year and a couple years after that. As a fantasy player, he might be like a Lamar Miller type, where he performs very, very well with fewer touches. I don't know if he's going to be a guy who says, here, first, second, third down, you're going to have 300 carries and, we're going to throw you the ball 100 times. I don't know if he's that kind of player, but I do love him, but I have him a little bit low. Like I have him below Clyde and Jonathan Taylor in my quote unquote rankings. I don't really do ranks anymore. But if I had to rank those three, I would have Clyde, Taylor, and then Sanders. So
I respect it.
Might be a little bit, I don't want to say hot takey. I don't like that phrase, but I just don't think he's going to be in that elite tier. He's going to be a heck of a value for any team, he's going to be, if he's going to be on your roster, he's going to be an excellent player for you the next 5-6 years. But I don't know if he's got that elite status in him. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope so, because I've got a lot of Sanders. But I would rather have Clyde. I'd rather have Taylor. I think I'd rather have Nick Chubb than Sanders for sure. But don't sway that away from Sanders. Like, go buy him if you can, but I wouldn't pay what I would for Jacobs.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And Sanders has been out of sight, out of mind. But if you look at his final stretch of the schedule here, you're looking. There's only one top 10 defense he's playing against. So I feel like Sanders is going to have a nice little bounce back. Someone is going to recoup some value here. The guy I had at number 7, was Clyde EdwardsHelaire. I think Clyde EdwardsHelaire is so close to that tier there with that PPR floor. And we just haven't seen it yet, right? Like, he hasn't been putting up the touchdowns, but you see a little bit here and you see a little bit there. And he is really approaching that next level as well. And then you get to all kinds of confusion here. They had Dynasty Trade Calculator has Nick Chubb at 7. They got Clyde EdwardsHelaire at 8, Aaron Jones at 9, Derrick Henry 10, and Zeke at 11. So let's talk a little bit about Zeke here. I have so many questions in my DM. What should I do with Zeke? Someone messaged me yesterday. I really think Zeke is going to continue to decline. Should I give up Zeke in a 22 first to get Saquon Barkley? And I actually agree. I was like, go for it. Get that peace of mind there a little bit. Talk to me a little bit about Zeke and what the struggles that you guys are seeing and the value at this point. I mean, you can't move him, can you?
I don't think it's a good time to move Zeke. No. I think, first of all, you have to envision that offense with Dak back again. And, he was a key focal point. Oh, by the way, I think we're kind of knocking him a lot. He's still a top 10 running back this year in points per game. Okay. I think he's clearly sliding down the rankings. You heard I said the same thing. And it's going to be a little bit hard to watch, I think, down the stretch this year. So if you're competing this year and you're trying to make a move like you said, Mike, okay, I get it. But he's still going to be a pretty stable running back, and I think you still have to consider him an RB1. The question is really how far down the list does he tumble right now?
Yeah. Right now, I mean, you're with Dak, he was putting up 22 points a game. Without Dak, he's had a game of 12, 6, 8, and 8. And
there you go.
They're just keying completely on him, and that's a lot of people are thinking it's the demise of what he's actually able to do. Other people believe it's Dak. Riley, what side of the narrative are you on?
I'm going to take you back to August 14th, 12:33 p.m. Riley and Mike strike a deal.
Yes, we did.
Stratton Oakmont, which is Riley's third place squad. This is the league where I've won third place every single year since, I want to say, 2017. It's been a long time. I decided to move my Ezekiel Elliott share, John. And I reach out to my friend Mike. And I said, Michael, do you have any interest in Ezekiel Elliott in this high-powered Dallas offense.
I can tell he means business when he refers to me as Michael. You know what I mean? He's just like,
right. Yeah.
down to business, Michael. You know,
full name.
Yeah. I say, Dad, would you throw me Nick Chubb? He said, I think I'd do that. And I said, okay, that's not going to quite be enough. I need something to bridge the gap between Chubb and the top 3 back in Zeke. I'm totally just rubbing this in Mike's face right now. I'm loving every second of it. Loving it. This is for the 3rd place all these years coming out right now. I also get Alexander Madison because I have Dalvin Cook. Let's go. Smash accept, bring that cowbell. And
I can't ring the cowbell against myself. It just
right.
Yes, you can.
I'm gonna allow that. Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, come on. He's the guest.
I even turned the volume down. I was like, nope, no cowbell.
And I got Corey Davis. Oh, there we go.
Corey Davis. He got me.
Oh, former 101 Corey Davis.
Former 101 Corey Davis, which Matt, our friend Matt Foreman texted me and he said, why even throw in Corey Davis? And I said, we still believe, baby.
I was saying
5th year breakout.
Yep.
You guys are still friends.
When Dynasty Refinery was still a thing, I used to say that all the time. 5th year breakout for Corey Davis. And, that was a great – I actually talked to Matt and I was like, after the deal, I was like, well, that puts me in a spot. And he's like, I actually like the other side there. And I'm like, okay, I can see that a little bit. The fact that I've gone like 48-2 in that league over the last 2 years,
yeah,
I'm okay with it.
He's fine. He didn't lose anything. But
hey, Mike, let me ask you this, though. Chubb or Elliott straight up right now?
I would probably take Chubb. Yeah, I would take Chubb over Elliott. So you win that trade. But, I mean, you and I have done 15 trades, and I bet it's almost like down the middle.
It's 50-50. You know what I mean? It's got to be.
It is all the time. But what John and I tell our listeners all the time is you win some, you lose some. Like I have no reservations about that trade. I would do it again in a heartbeat because we did it where it was the time where Zeke was that guy. Zeke was in that top 4 running backs, and that was the spot. And I was going to pair him with McCaffrey and all those other guys that I have on that team, and I was like, I'm all in, and that was not anything that really bothered me. But you actually,
you own the first round of startups, and that you have all the guys. I mean, you've got everybody there. But it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, this particular, we've referenced this one before, but I mean, I'm rolling out Kyler and Wentz. My wide receiver, of course, Michael Thomas, Keenan Allen, Tyreek Hill. I got Kelsey, and then the running backs, it's Zeke and it's McCaffrey. There's just too many guys to list. Like it's literally
he's forgetting like half his starters.
I know.
That's how it's done right there.
I put up almost 220 points a week. Like it's fairly intense, but we'll just
So you mentioned Zeke, and I'd forgotten that we had done that deal until John started talking. I'm like, I have to find the time and the date, and I'm going to celebrate here. But I'm in 5th place. My team's struggling, but it's okay.
It will go down in infamy.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I forgot Carson, Melvin Gordon, Noah Fant, the 102, Stephon Diggs. It's just it's there, and it's an exciting thing because if you guys haven't done it, listen to episode 2 of the rebuild. Riley's seen firsthand. Like I love rebuilding. I stripped that thing down from year 1. I just stripped it to I lost every single game. And then I was like, I love the rebuild process. I break that down into a 5-step process and talk about all the trades there. So if you guys want to, get your team there, listen to that rebuild episode. It's our number 2 episode so far, and people seem to keep going back that way. Let's talk about 2 more guys in that tier. They have Aaron Jones at 9 and Derrick Henry at 10. They're 2 of the more polarizing guys when it comes to Twitter, when it comes to our listeners. If you're making that push to go all in, do you want Aaron Jones? Do you want Derrick Henry? And how much are we willing to pay for those kind of guys at this point in the season?
Yeah, maybe I'll jump in here because I was hoping we would talk about Aaron Jones. I'd love to hear what Riley thinks about him because he's a free agent after this year, and that's definitely keeping his value down. But I'm talking to like Mr. Wall Street here. If he does sign that contract overnight, guys, he's got to be considered well up the rankings again, up into that, in my opinion, even the Sanders-Jacobs tier. That's how talented this kid is. Remember, he was the 2nd overall running back last year. Right now, he's 4th in the league. Green Bay with LaFleur and Rodgers still going to use that running back in the passing game, in the rushing game. He's going to get a lot of red zone looks. So, that's a struggle. But man, talk about risk reward. What are you doing with that one, Riley?
He is probably one of the most polarizing assets to even own if you play Dynasty, and it all hinges on will he be a Packer 2 years from now, which who knows?
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know if Green Bay is going to pay Aaron Jones. I mean, they took A.J. Dillon in the second round, shockingly, and why would you pay and put that much money into a position where you spent very, very significant draft capital on that position? Plus, you've got Jamal Williams, who I think is perennially one of the most underrated players in the NFL.
Yeah.
Does a little bit of everything, always slides in and plays well when Jones doesn't. And I don't know if they're going to pay him. And if that's the case, I'm selling Aaron Jones. If I could somehow get DeAndre Swift and whatever on the back end, I'm doing it. Absolutely. Anything with Swift, Dobbins, tier really, it breaks off after Dobbins, Taylor, Mixon, and you get to Kareem Hunt, Antonio Gibson, James Conner. Huge tier break right there. So if I could get Swift or Dobbins as the main piece in a deal for Aaron Jones, I'm doing that 8 days out of the week.
Yeah, I like that advice. That's a smash accept move.
I just pulled that up on Twitter, and it was like, what are some recent Aaron Jones trades? I saw Michael Gallup in a first. I saw DeAndre Swift and a second. Those are kind of moves where if you're believing in that and you're trying to get moved down, absolutely. Let's talk about those rookies then, because that's really where people want to know, are these guys going to move up? And none of them have really exploded, right? I mean, Taylor's shown some inabilities to hit the holes at times. Dobbins is just criminally underused. I'm watching the Ravens games every single week, and I'm like, the dude's averaging 6 yards a carry, and we're just, we're throwing the Gus bus out there even when Ingram's down. And he's shown some flashes, and Swift has as well. What are we willing to do with those kind of guys? I mean, this is where we can all agree that if we had the Derrick Henry and the Aaron Jones and even the Zeke, we're trying to trade back into those guys. Talk to me a little bit about all three, and who's the guy out of that group that you're most excited about? John?
So, I'm going to say this again, like, you have to be patient with these guys. They all could potentially be top 5 running backs in the league. So what's holding them back so far? Well, they're obviously getting acclimated to the NFL. One thing that gets lost a lot of times is pass blocking. On third down, can they count on this rookie to protect their franchise quarterback? And look, these guys are not necessarily always getting it. So it drives you crazy. Someone like Antonio Gibson is another guy. He's not getting those third down carries. He feels criminally underused. Well, it's the pass blocking.
Do you know how many third downs Antonio Gibson's played?
Like one.
It's one.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
One.
Jeez.
Yeah. JD, that's why JD McKissick has been like a low-key PPR RB2 because Antonio Gibson has played one third down snap. Like
I was going to guess like 8, but I didn't know it was 1.
One.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Throwing some stats at you there. No, I mean, KC is a little bit different, right? They don't depend on that running back. They're always running them out pass routes. So in terms of value in the market right now and trade value, Clyde EdwardsHelaire still is the top overall value. Okay. And he's on the top offense in the league. They're actually working him in now more in the red zone, particularly in the passing game. Le'Veon Bell has clearly shown that he's not going to be any real threat there. I think you get a little bit concerned about the stats, but they're still working them in. They haven't needed him in a lot of the games, but they've shown in certain game scripts, they will pound CEH as well. So, for me personally, I still have a lot of love for Taylor, and I think he's the most talented of those three. And I still am trying to get him left, right, and center as his value drops right now, knowing that talent will prevail. You have to buy on talent. That offensive line is still great. I mean, he was a little bit dinged up 2 weeks ago. He had the fumble. You hate to see that. But those are things that you will get over and get through. So buy Jonathan Taylor on a low. And then the guy that, Mike, still is perhaps the best value buy in the rookie class is J.K. Dobbins. He may not be the absolute most talented, but he may be frankly the most well-rounded guy of that crew. Criminally underused. The Ravens are actually struggling, I think, with their offensive play calling a little bit right now. I heard Lamar Jackson was saying that the defense was calling out the plays. Something's going wrong there. But that group is so talented. Remember, he fits that system perfectly. And so there is a definite scenario here, and I'd like to hear what you guys think. There's J.K. Dobbins could end up being the best of those three. It wouldn't surprise me in the least. And remember, you can get him for a lot cheaper right now. So keep buying J.K. Dobbins, folks.
Riley, what do you think of those three, especially the guy that you and I are possibly talking about doing a trade here? Since we make so many deals, you came to me and you said, "Hey, Michael, I think I want to make a deal here." I take over the orphan, and that's what I got, like 15 messages, and then I get the group me message of, "Hey, Michael, let's see what we can do here." So why don't you tell everybody about that?
So I was going to ask you guys before I said anything about these three, if you guys had to rank right now, not even right now, just the next 10 years, rank who do you want? And you can't trade. You've got to pick them. You're on the clock in a startup. J.K. Dobbins, Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift. How do those guys stack up for you? Because it is polarizing, and I've twisted and turned about this all day, and I can't figure it out.
I go back and forth. I mean, Jonathan Taylor was my 101. Period. No questions asked. If DeAndre Swift went to a better situation, I feel like he is he's that guy that has that longevity, right? Because he can do it all. Same with Dobbins. Like, it is John and I talk about this all the time. We go back and forth. If the situation, if we're just talking about pure talent of these players, I might shock you a little bit, and I might say DeAndre Swift, but he's in Detroit. So that changes everything for me, because the management does not surround players there. You know what I mean? I could tell you,
I've got it Taylor, Dobbins, Swift, but it is very dynamic, and you got to stay on top of the trends and the value there. But I want all three of them. But that's how I rank them right now.
That's how we do it, right?
Give them all.
If you guys were doing that productive struggle, I was in one last year where I have all of them, and Gibson, because that's what you do. That's how you build those kind of things. And I know Riley's doing that with some of his teams there. Flipping the question back to you, how are you taking it?
That's what I've been working on all day. And the weird part is that I kind of realized about this entire class, we love the top 5 backs. We loved them. And in single quarterback leagues, a lot of time they were the first 5 picks. All 5 players are in these really weird, sneaky committees.
Yeah.
I mean, Clyde, we thought was going to be the guy, but no, Darrell Williams mixes in. Now Bell's mixing in. Dobbins with Ingram and Gus Edwards. And then, Taylor with Nyheim Hines scoring 2 touchdowns in week 1. And Jordan Wilkins mixing in. I thought Wilkins was gone. And all of a sudden, no, he's taken 10 carries away from Taylor. And then we know what Swift is doing in Detroit. So, I mean, the top 4 guys are in committees, like legit committees that we didn't think was going to happen. So that was the weird thing. They're all kind of in similar situations. I think I'm with you guys. I think it's Taylor, Dobbins, Swift. I love all 3. I'd love to go get the cheapest, but I think that's how I stack them right now. So, hopefully Taylor gets 100% healthy. I think he's a little nicked up, but that line is phenomenal. They're going to be run-based for the next couple of years, especially if they bring in a rookie quarterback. Don't think it's going to be Jacob Eason. It's got to be somebody else in the 21 class. Would love to see Mac Jones middle of the first round to Indy. That's really what I'm hoping for right now, because we are Michael Pittman fans. He was our favorite this year, and we need a quarterback not named Phillip.
I dig it.
Not named Phillip.
Sure.
So that's what we're doing.
The last guy I want to talk about, because we always try to keep it to about an hour here, and he's in that same tier according to Dynasty Trade Calculator. Has he fallen? Is Joe Mixon. What are we doing with Joe Mixon? If you had to choose between these 3 rookies and Joe Mixon, to me, I still feel like Joe Mixon has the more value, because he's shown, he's in that similar age bracket. He's still super young. He's shown the ability to have those top weeks. What are you guys doing with Joe Mixon?
We are buying, baby.
I love it.
Always buy Mixon.
I was blown away when I saw him at DTC. They had him as RB15, because I had him in my top 10 for sure.
Yeah, I got to get the boys on a conference call. We got to get some things squared away and situated there, because Mixon is a little too low. I'd rather have Mixon than Aaron Jones.
Yep.
Zeke for sure. He and Derrick Henry are close, but I think I'd rather have Mixon.
I have him, right underneath Chubb, EdwardsHelaire. I feel like he's above those other guys. That's where Joe Mixon belongs, because he's, again, I feel like underused, but I feel like they're starting to tap into it a little bit. And it was really frustrating to me, because you see Gio Bernard do exactly what you want Joe Mixon to do, right? When Joe Mixon's out, Gio Bernard gets 8 targets and 15 carries. And Mixon's electric in the open field. He's a great pass catcher. He is a big-time buy out of this group. John, are you in agreement?
Yeah, I absolutely am. And just think about this. I mean, it's dynasty, so think a little bit longer term, okay? First of all, he's locked up through 24. Oh, by the way, that's longer than these rookies are on their rookie contracts, all of them. And remember how bad that O-line is, okay? Yeah. But he is basically going to be hitched to Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd and the crew. They are going to fix the line. They know they have to. They got to protect Burrow. And so he's in a really nice situation. You could see that offense there really continue to mature and put up a lot of points there. So he's a buy.
Yeah, he's the RB7 right now. And at his age of 24 years old, the fact that he's 15 is almost – somebody should be locked up about it. You know what I mean? Like if he's that far out, 24 years old, RB7, and everybody's kind of out of sight, out of mind because he sat out for 2 weeks, go buy Joe Mixon, Riley, I got to thank you so much for coming on. It's the first, kind of face-to-face kind of meeting we had here. We appreciate you coming on. Why don't you tell the listeners where they can find you and anything that you have going on right now?
Yeah. Hey, thanks again for having me. It was a blast. I enjoyed meeting John more than Michael, for sure. I can already stack those that way.
I can understand.
I think most people would understand.
We're not in the same tier. I get it.
John's McCaffrey, Mike's more that Aaron Jones. I'm kind of not really having it right now.
I've taken you on too many trades. I'd like to at least be in that Saquon area. Oh, that's bad.
Yeah, man. No, guys, it was a blast. I'm the only Riley Buymaster on Twitter, so you just search my name. My handle's DTC_Riley B. We occasionally record a Dynasty Wall Street, so stop by and listen to a couple of those. Those are super fun with John and Kevin. Like to talk about current value, future value. What do you do? It really, in these situations, pretty similar, but we really break it down to that, to the decimal, to the 10th of a point. And so we need to get more consistent with those if they're listening. But hey, it's okay. We're middle of the season. We're pushing for titles right now. And so smash accept those trades and ring those cowbells.
Yeah, what about you, John? Before you start, some of us are pushing for titles, some of us are pushing for third place. What are you working on? I had to after the Aaron Jones comment,
fair.
So, John, what about you?
You had to stick it in at the end there. No, I really enjoyed, first of all, Riley, having you on and hearing. I've taken some notes a couple times and threw out some really good tips, and you sound like you got it going, you got a pro, and I appreciate the CMC reference there. I maybe actually bring Mike and I into Wall Street sometime, and we'll do a little cross branding. Would love to come on and mix it up with you guys. But right now, again, like I'll finish with this. Try to make a trade in every league you're in, and if you're trying to make a run this season, you really got to get some of these running backs we talked about tonight. We really helped you out with kind of where to gauge the value and what to go for there. And man, picked up some beautiful tips from Mike and Riley as well on how to do that. So really, we got to figure that out. And good luck in doing it. Let us know on the hashtag Smash Accept. We'd love to help you out.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Hit us up on, hashtag Smash Accept. You can find me at Dynasty_DadFF, always answering Twitter questions. And like always, enjoy the process. Boom. It was good times, guys. I thought that was